Good evening and welcome to the Madre Foothills Recreation Management Plan Public Information Forum. My name is Boris Poff and I am the manager for the Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. We are here tonight to solicit information from you on how you use the La Madre Foothills area and how you would like to see recreation in the future for the area. This information will help us to be better informed when developing the plan. With me tonight is John Prescott, the outdoor recreation planner leading the project manager Kira Pfeiffer, and John Aslan, the public affairs specialist for Red Rock Canyon NCA. Tonight, we will have a short presentation, an opportunity for questions and answers, and a period for you to provide verbal comment that will become part of the plan record and help us to develop a well-rounded plan. Now, I'd like to introduce John Prescott, who will provide the presentation.
Hi, want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, even though the Knights are playing. And yeah, so again, thanks for being here on your free time. Quick introduction for where we are in this project. You can see we're in this 30-day information gathering period, which is exactly as it sounds, just trying to get your feedback on how you use this specific area of the NCA. After this, we're going to draft the plan, which then goes back out for another round of public review. We're going to finalize the plan based off of your review or off of your comments, and then sign a decision and then start implementation. Roughly, this whole thing looks like about a 2-year timeline. So a little bit of history of Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. It's, one second. There we go. Hi, sorry about that. So Red Rock Canyon NCA was originally designated as recreation lands sometime in the 1970s. And soon after, well, shortly after, changed to a national conservation area in 1990. The resource management plan, which guides management of the NCA, was signed in 2005. It was started in the late 90s, so it took a little bit of time to get finalized. And the NCA was originally established for the purpose of conserving, protecting, and enhancing the many natural resources in the area, including recreation. And that's a nod to the long history of recreation in these lands. So quick overview of the La Madre Foothills planning area. It's in the red checkered box. You can see it's kind of this northeastern little portion of the NCA. Bounded to the north by Kyle Canyon Road, State Route 157, and to the east by private subdivisions, Sky Canyon, and other subdivisions, into the south by other private lands. The planning area does not include any wilderness, like the La Madre Mountain Wilderness. So why are we developing this plan? It's to provide a long-term vision and commitment for improved day use recreation, public access, and natural resource protection of the area. As we're seeing more and more recreation use in the area and more pressure from urban development, we really need a long-term vision and direction to meet the public demand for this space. We are seeing an increased public use in this zone. We don't have any data prior to 2022, but between December 2022 and April of this year, we averaged 65 visits per day in just one trail that we've been tracking in this area off of the Cliff Shadows trailhead. To put that into a different context, in April of 23, we averaged 2,300 visitors total. So if you just kind of do the math, it turns out to be 23 to 25,000 visitors a year just on one trail in this massive area. Here's a zoomed in view of the planning area. We have two existing trailheads that are known as the Cliff Shadows Open Desert Park Trailhead, and off of Alexander Road, and just south of that off of Cliff Shadows Drive is the Buckskin Cliff Shadows Trailhead. It's important to note that these are not BLM maintained trailheads. These were built by the city of Las Vegas and are maintained by the city. And in this view, you can see a little bit better where the private lands and the private subdivisions are coming right up to the Red Rock NCA boundary, which is, again, part of the reason why we're kicking off this planning project. Quick overview of the planning area. It's about 13,000 acres. We have 30 to 40 miles of documented single track trail. Important note for that is those are all unsanctioned trails. There are no sanctioned single track trails in this planning area. Roughly 60 miles of documented motorized routes. We don't know how many of those are open roads compared to just socially driven in roads. Two trailheads, again, like I just mentioned, not BLM maintained trailheads, but they are providing public access to the area. And the area was broken down into two management emphasis areas, which I'll get into here on the next slide. These MEAs were designated in the RMP in 2005, and it basically splits the La Madre Foothills in half, where the green or diagonal lines moving from the upper right to your lower left is a roaded natural area. And roaded natural management emphasis is focused on developments to improve access. This does include roads and trails. Can expect a low to moderate human interaction, or that's what we should be managing for. And on-site controls can be present, but not very invasive. So like signage, maybe BLM presence, kiosks, things like that. The other half of the planning area, the diagonal lines moving from your upper left to your lower right, is designated as a non-motorized area. So non-motorized management emphasis area. It focuses on a low human interaction. It does include trails for mountain biking, equestrian, and hiking. Off-site controls are preferred, so maybe not as much signage. You might feel a little bit more remote, might feel a little more backcountry in this zone. And the RMP does say that existing roads are to be closed in non-motorized management emphasis areas and should preclude motorized use. So what are we looking to address in this plan? In no particular order, public access. As I mentioned, and I think as most people on this call will be aware of, some public access has been not so much restricted, but made more difficult with the development of a lot of the housing projects on the border, as well as some of the mining going on adjacent to the in the planning area. We also need to address increased visitation, unsanctioned trail development, motorized recreation use off of designated roads, and resource protection, including protecting the wilderness character, wildlife, and archaeological resources in the area. And we want to start focusing on managing for a defined visitor experience and expectations. So this map shows the documented roads and trails. Again, these are just the documented roads and trails. There certainly are more out there. The blue lines are the single track trails that we have mapped, and the thinner black lines are the roads. You can see most of this use is occurring on the eastern kind of in the eastern portion of the planning area, and the single track trails are focused around the cliff shadows area. So our plan components, it's a little wordy, but we want to evaluate the existing networks of roads and trails for sustainability and meeting user needs. We want to consider e-bikes as an allowable use on the designated non-motorized trails when we get to that point. We want to hear from you about additional trailheads that are needed, what kind of access we need to retain at the existing locations. We want to start managing for the wilderness character by addressing non-motorized and motorized incursions into the La Madre Mountain Wilderness, which is directly adjacent to the planning area. And we want to add official signage and wayfinding on all of the trails. Going back to a map of the documented roads that we have here. So just again, you can see that there's a little bit of a network. These roads do provide access to other parts of the conservation area, the further northern reaches. If you followed some of Red Rock's previous planning efforts, you might recognize that these roads connect to what we call the Harris Springs area off of Kyle Canyon or State Route 157. And you can see where there are some of these roads going into the La Madre Mountain Wilderness. Again, just a focused view of the trails that we have documented. Most of the documented single track that we know of out there is right outside of the cliff shadows, right off of, well, the Cliff Shadows Road. Those two trailheads, Buckskin Gulch or Buckskin Cliff Shadows, and the Cliff Shadows trailheads or Trigano Hills Park. So this is where we need you. Like I mentioned, we want to be managing for a specific user experience or set of user experiences. And this is what we don't know. We need your input to make sure that we are meeting your demands as a recreational visitor of Red Rock. And then we can help, so you can help us make informed planning decisions. Some examples: we want to know where you recreate and why, what your desired experience is when you go out to this place or use this road, use this trail, go to this cliff, whatever it is you do. Looking for suggestions of where new trailheads or parking areas are needed or could be considered. We want to balance the interests of all users, fully recognizing that there's a lot of space out there, and there is the potential for single-use trails if needed. Also, we're looking for new trail ideas. All of the trails out there are unsanctioned trails, so we want to try to get ahead of this by inviting the public to submit their GPS tracks, their ideas for where a trail might be needed, things like that, so we can analyze it properly and take it through the right process. So we're getting into the Q&A portion now. As you can see, you can click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type your project-related question. Again, please only focus your questions on the La Madre Foothills project. We just simply won't answer something that's unrelated to tonight's session. We'll try to answer it live or type a response in the chat box. Preferably, I'll be answering these questions live. And as always, if you're feeling shy or don't have the chance, there's the project email address, and we're accepting questions and comments through the 25th. So it's a 30-day public window. So we can start answering questions.
Hi, I'm John Anslin. I just wanted to jump in and let you all know that on the bottom of your screen there's a little Q&A box. If you click on that, then you can type questions into that spot. And just like John said, we're going to try to answer as many as we can live. Please keep them within this planning area and this and for this plan. And then also one thing, there is not a plan right now. This is the very beginning part where we're collecting information from you, like John had said on that last slide, on how you use the area and what you'd like to see out there as far as recreation goes.
Great. Okay, so we have a question from Kevin Bailey, and Kevin asks, how can the full-size off-road community help the BLM with motorized trails? How can the Vegas Valley four-wheelers help? Kevin, that's a great question. Again, at this stage of the game, really you can help us by letting us know which routes are the most important to you as an OHV community, and why. What types of, well, you say full-sized, so that answers that question. But yeah, helping us map your favorite routes, letting us know where you like to go, why you like to go there. We do have flexibility in our RMP to leave certain roads open if an adequate need is shown. So again, you need to show us your need, and then we can make a proper consideration of those routes. Thank you. Another question from Lawrence Stoker. Have ideas been submitted for trailheads to access a climbing area called Waterworld? This is usually accessed near the quarry. Also, trailheads are needed on the northern access sides. It's a great comment. Thank you, Lawrence. You just submitted that idea. Again, this is the very beginning stages of this planning process. So any information that, or anything that you would like to see, please let us know. Nothing has been formally considered for that climbing area. And if you have specific GPS points, if you can send like a Google pin or some kind of coordinate for where you think a trailhead on the northern access side would fit, please submit that to the project email, and we can take a look at it. Thank you. Chris Orr asks if we can reiterate what types of recreation are currently allowed in the area. That's kind of a tricky question. Because none of the trails are formal system trails, nothing has been formally designated for use. But based on the preliminary or the existing management emphasis zones that were defined, like I said, back in 2005, the whole planning area is split into motorized use and non-motorized use. So that non-motorized use does include mountain bikes, hiking, equestrian, and for the motorized use on designated roads, it would be, full-size vehicles, dirt bikes, things like that. Let's see, a question from Dave Peniak. He's asking, is it our intention to pay for trail building and maintenance in this area, including adding signage? Do you have a budget for trail building and maintenance? Our intent is to take a really holistic look at the existing trail network and see what fits within the conservation mission and also meets visitor needs. So, by adopting trails, potentially doing reroutes, et cetera, things like that. We don't have a specific budget for trail maintenance, but we do have a very strong volunteer base in the Las Vegas Valley, and we do have a pretty active ranger staff. So currently, no, Red Rock does not have a trail building or maintenance budget. Let's see. A question from Eugene Clayton. Eugene asks, is this broadcast going to be available for rebroadcasting online later? All the Burbs thugs are at the Knights game. Okay. Yes, this is being recorded and can be shared with whoever you'd like to see it. Okay. Let's see. So Mike Flood asks, where are the parking lots going to be where I can access these trails with horse or as a hiker with a growing population in the Vegas Valley? So there are two existing parking lots or trailheads. If you do a Google search of the Buckskin Cliff Shadows trailhead, that'll come up, and that's again off of Cliff Shadows Road. Just up the street from there is the Cliff Shadows Desert Park trailhead, or the Trigano Hills Park. Both of those trailheads, again, are maintained by the city of Las Vegas, and they both do have equestrian facilities. And of course, as a hiker, they're open for you. And again, if Michael, if you see a need for additional trailheads someplace, please submit a GPS coordinate or a Google Pin or something like that, and we can take a look. Jen Hanks asks, does our trail counter distinguish between different types of trail users? It does not. So it is rough data. It won't tell us if it's a hiker or a mountain biker. It won't tell us if it's somebody with a dog. But we do have other counters placed throughout the trail network. So we're trying to get a better feel for what types of uses might be where. I think that the data that I cited was taken from a location closest to one of the trailheads. On a trail that has a lot of dog poop on it, so it's kind of a safe bet that it sees a lot of dog walkers. Shameless plug, please pick up after your dog when you're out there. Dave asks, as a very active mountain biker in the area, along with several others in and around Las Vegas, are you hoping or intending to try to make current trails legal sanctioned? Dave, that is something that we're looking at. Yeah, we recognize that there's a need for mountain bike trails and mountain bike infrastructure on BLM lands and in Red Rock specifically. So one of the, for any reason, just to provide that access so it doesn't keep popping up elsewhere, but also to take pressure off of places like the Blue Diamond area and Cottonwood Valley. So yes, we will be taking a look at the existing trail network to bring them into system, like a system trails, make them system trails. Ed Price asks, do you foresee the possibility of having trails to accommodate adaptive hiking by individuals with disabilities requiring newer technology mobility devices, not constructed accessible trails? Yes, Ed, that's a great point. More and more lately, we have been taking a really critical look at our adaptive recreation users and trying to really understand what they have what needs they have as a user group for trail access. So as we're kicking off this planning process, we will be incorporating adaptive use and newer mobility devices into the considerations for user needs. Yeah, thank you, Ed. Chris Orr asks, the holistic look at the area might include an assessment or inventory of the current unsanctioned trails, and then maybe a strategy to reorganize. Yes, the plan is to take a really holistic look and assess and inventory all of the unsanctioned existing trails. And the purpose of that is to see where revisions might be needed, where one trail might not be compatible with some of the other resource protection mandates for Red Rock, or where another trail might be needed to better meet the visitor needs. He also asked, will it be followed by a conceptual plan to show the public for additional input? Yes, it will. So back at the beginning of the presentation, I showed this kind of roundabout progression for this project. I would say there definitely will be another round of public review once we have a draft plan ready to go with better maps and a better understanding of what the system looks like. Joy asked, would there be any consideration for designating some trails for mountain biking and others for hiking? I think so. If there's a need for single-use trails or mountain bike only trails or hiking and equestrian only trails, that is definitely something we want to consider. Dave Spicer asks, how soon would you like to have the GPS submittals for new trails and the parking lot areas? Well, we're currently in a 30-day public, I guess, comment period. So until the 25th. After that, again, we'll put out a new a draft for review once we have a draft plan. So really anytime, ideally in these next 30 days, if you have it, but really anytime over the next several months would be a good time. Next question from Donald Carley. There's a much needed official trailhead on the West Lake Mead south side of the area. Okay, thank you, Donald. Again, if you have a specific location in mind, send us a GPS pin or a location, and we will consider it. Paul Carpino says that there's a long stretch on the eastern border that is closed and hard to access between Grand Teton Road and Iron Mountain Road. You'd like to see a designated parking area. Okay, again, please just send us a screenshot or a GPS pin of that exact location. Chris asks, will the terrain allow for entry-level or beginner trails and maybe some advanced level new trail? We don't know. We haven't taken that hard of a look at the area yet. From my understanding, it sounds like the trails out there are mostly intermediate and advanced and a little more rocky or technical in nature. So there might be opportunity, but again, we don't know. OnePlus user asks, are you going to designate e-bike classifications for both motorized and non-motorized roads and trails? We don't know what we're going to designate at this point. Again, we're in the information gathering period. So we'll need to incorporate that into our kind of analysis and our planning process to see if or where e-bikes might be appropriate. Michael Flood asked the question, do we have a budget for this project yet? The answer is no. A question that we missed from Dave Peniak. He asked if I specifically use these trails, and if so, do I hike or bike on them? Several BLM employees have been out there and either hiking or biking. So some of these look like some like comments. If we don't have any more specific questions, we might just move into the comment session, which would just be, again, no responses coming from the BLM, but just submitting your comments. Like, this is recorded. We'll transcribe them and incorporate them into our draft plan. Dave Spicer asks, what is our best projection to acquire SNPLUMA funding if applied for? I don't know. It really depends on what we're trying to do out there. Yeah, so again, we just don't know at this time anything about budget or funding. Another question about, will this area be considered for special use permits? Yes. We'll take a look and see what special recreation permits or commercial uses might be acceptable or compatible with the other uses and resource protection values in this area. So yeah, we will be looking at that.
We do have some more time for questions. I know it takes a little bit longer to type the questions in, so we'll wait for a few minutes here to see if there's any more questions before we roll into the public comment period.
Dave Switzer asked if we could do a programmatic study of the area. In a way, that's kind of what the Recreation Area Management Plan is. Kind of a step down from the broader resource management plan that we have for the entire NCA, and more focused version of that just for the La Madre Foothills. So that is what we're currently starting to kick off.
Okay, let's do last call on questions before we go into the comment period. If there are any more questions, type them in now, and then we'll move into the comment period. Colleen, if you have a question, you can type it into the Q&A box. I see your hand is up.
Holly or Joy Lane asks, is it permissible for people to take it upon themselves and modify existing unsanctioned trails in the Buckskin Cliff Shadows area? Wow. Technically, no. Technically, it's also not permissible to construct those trails in the first place. So yeah, I guess the simple answer is no. That's the simple answer.
Okay, the question and answer box, you can still type questions in there. We're going to go into the comment period now, and they won't be answered live, but they'll be, you'll get answers typed in if you think of something as you're going along. And plus, oh, you know what? There's a question right now, and honestly, I think I can answer this one. So the recording of today's meeting will be put on the BLM Red Rock website. So if you go to blm.gov and do a search for Red Rock Canyon, you get to the main Red Rock Canyon website. On the right-hand side, there's a column with a bunch of different things in there, and there'll be a section for La Madre Foothills Recreation Area Management Plan, or RAMP, and the video will be placed there. It'll probably be a couple of days before it gets up there, but it'll be posted up there. Yeah, blm.gov. In fact, what I'll do is I will put in a link in the chat window here in a few minutes, and that'll be a direct link to the Red Rock website. And so let's move on to the comment section. So folks that in your registration, I'll call you folks first, whoever came in the order that you registered, who said that you'd like to provide comment. So when I call your name, please raise your hand, so that'll move you up to the top, and it's easy for me to allow you to unmute yourself. When we get through the entire group that registered, that's 13. When we get through everybody there, then we can open it up for everybody, and then I'll ask you to raise your hands at that point. Please don't raise your hand until I call your name or until we get to that point, because it kind of clouds things up. Also, you'll have 2 minutes to provide your comment. And remember, if you have more, or you're you don't want to talk in front of everybody, we have that email address over in the chat area. I'll put that up again so everyone can see it. And you can always send an email if you have something longer, or you just don't want to talk in front of everybody. Also, please, when doing public comment, please refrain from using profanity, and be respectful of others. Don't attack other people's comments. And I'll bring it up once again. The whole reason why we're here today is to get information from you on how you use this area, and why you use it, and what you would like to see in the future, because these are the things that will really help us in building this plan. There is no plan yet, so this is not really as much an opportunity for you, but this is an important part of the plan, to get information from you on how you use this area. So I'm going to start off, and Mackenzie Taylor, are you here? Can you raise your hand? I know there's going to be some people who registered who are not here, but let me flip through and see if I can see. I don't see Mackenzie. Okay. Jen Hanks, I know you're here. Jen, can you raise your hand? All right, Jen, you can unmute yourself and start. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jen Hanks, and I'm the Vice President of Southern Nevada Mountain Biking Association. SIMBA is the local chapter of IMBA, and we follow IMBA's mission to create, enhance, and protect great places to ride mountain bikes. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide input on the future of the La Madre Foothill Recreation Area. The Unsanctioned Trails in La Madre Foothills is a popular mountain bike trail network, affectionately known to locals as the Burbs. Mountain bike use in the area has increased as the popularity of mountain biking has increased, and the adjacent communities of Cliff Shadows and Sky Canyon have exploded in population. This area epitomizes IMBA's focus on more trails close to home. SIMBA would like to work with the BLM with the input of the local mountain bike community in determining which trails are most appropriate for sanctioning and potential expansion of the current trail system to meet the needs of diverse trail users and mountain bikers of different skill levels. Specifically, since most of the trails in the area are technical in nature, it is suggested that a green beginner loop be developed to support newer riders, families, and the growing Nevada South Interscholastic League teams need for local trails to practice. That's all I have to say right now, but we hope to work with you through this process, and thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Jen. Next is Kevin Bailey. Kevin, if you're here, please raise your hand. Kevin, are you here? Okay. Let's move on to Colleen Carroll. Colleen Carroll, can you raise your hand, please? There you go. Thank you. All right, Colleen, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, so my name is Colleen Carroll, and I appreciate the time and the opportunity to comment. I'm actually quite passionate about the La Madre Mountains foothills. I use this area quite a bit. I live very close, and I would like to actually start a Friends of La Madre Mountain Wilderness group. So I'm planning to start organizing, and then I also plan to file for nonprofit status. And I want to continue to work with the public forums and any other opportunities to help with the building process. One of the questions I asked, and I also plan to provide a written comment. I see that those won't be due till May 25th. And so I want to review today's session, and then I'll respond with written comment. One of my concerns is like Red Rock Canyon proper. I do feel that I don't like how that's being managed, and I don't feel like it's a good use for La Madre Foothills. I think that a lot of the people that use the foothills like that it's, you know, right now governed by the BLM and has a looser set of rules. My concern is that if the plan moves forward, then, you know, certain recreational opportunities won't be provided. I don't like the reservation system in Red Rock. I think that it's made it so that people that don't have the ability to plan can't use the resources. I think there's a lot of people that have high clearance vehicles, people that, you know, like to rock hound. There's all kinds of opportunities that I think that, you know, might disappear, you know, given, you know, the change in plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Paul Carpino, are you here? Can you raise your hand, please? Paul, are you here? Okay, let's move down to Michael Flood. I know you're here. Could you raise your hand, please? Thank you, Michael. You can unmute yourself now.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm with Cowboy Trail Rides and Backcountry Horsemen. My biggest concern with this project right now is parking. We have 2 parking lots right now to access 13,000 acres. What are we going to do with the OHV trails? Are we going to be able to still have access as someone who side-by-sides, as somebody who mountain bikes, as somebody that rides horses? I mean, we do it all. We're into all different types of recreation, and I think they should be available for everybody that wants to do. So I think 2 parking lots is unacceptable for 13,000 acres. That's my opinion on the matter. And my other concern is, as somebody who has side-by-sides or horseback trail horses, where am I going to park my trailers? You know, what if I want to ride at the other end 60 or 40 miles away? You know, do I have to ride 40 miles in one day to get to somewhere where I want to be? Or, you know, is there going to be a parking lot over there? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next is Danny Baranowski. Danny, can you raise your hand if you're here? Okay. How about Gregory Finley? Gregory, are you here? Can you raise your hand? Okay. Ed Price, I know you're here, Ed. Could you raise your hand, please? Ed, are you here? Oh, did we lose you? Okay, let's move on to the next person. Curtis Hyde. Curtis, are you here? Could you raise your hand, please? All right, don't see Curtis. And you know, I forgot to say this at the beginning. If I get the pronunciation of your name wrong, I'm very sorry. Mine is also difficult for most people to pronounce. So I feel your pain. So I'll do my best here. Dave Penyuk, are you here? Did you raise your hand, please? Thank you, Dave. Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Hi guys, I just wanted to first and foremost say thank you for doing this. I know it's a big potential project, whatever you end up doing. So I'm coming at it from a mountain biker perspective and a hiker as well. I hike around those areas and many others in and around Las Vegas with my family. And I do a lot of mountain biking, specifically there, but then a few other spots. So I just wanted to add, I'm from British Columbia. And so in British Columbia, Canada, they do a lot of these kinds of land use agreements between primarily the forestry companies that often own and or lease the land from the government, and then the government, and then the mountain biking associations or recreational use associations. They do a lot of that in British Columbia. And it's taken a long while, but it's come a long way in a good way with the sanctioning of more trails, the signage, the building of trails properly, maintaining them, and just being making the areas much better overall, including having, you know, washrooms and in a lot of cases bike washing areas and parking and all those sorts of things. So I just want to commend you for doing this, and I'm just hoping that we go down the right path of opening it up and recognizing that Las Vegas has a ton to offer, not just for locals, but for visitors that want to come here and not just go to the Strip and get drunk at the Strip, so or play poker at the Strip. There's a lot more here. It's one of the reasons why we moved here. So I just want to commend you and let you know, if you have any questions around what I've seen in BC, I'm happy to answer. So thanks again.
Thank you, Dave. Michael Kelly. Michael, are you here? If so, can you raise your hand, please? Okay, that's everybody from the registration list. Before we roll into anyone who didn't register to talk, I just want to let you all know that in the chat, I put the link that goes directly to the Red Rock Canyon webpage. And that's where this video will be if you want to let other people know, or you can share it to them, pass it along. What it'll be is a link to our YouTube channel, so you can just send it to them from YouTube. So if you did not register to provide a comment, and you'd like to provide a comment now, please raise your hand and I'll take you in order. Anybody? There you go. David. Well, I lost you, David. All right. You can unmute yourself and talk now.
I got you. Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little broken up, but we can hear you.
Okay. David Spicer here, president of Southern Nevada Mountain Bike Association. I'd like to personally thank all you gentlemen for putting this on, taking your personal time, and everybody that's joined us in this matter. I will be doing a full, comment on the letters when we get a chance. But in the meanwhile, I agree that we need to have, look at all the multi-use, the hiking, running, horseback, other users. More and more parking areas. We already know that. Reason being that all that's going to require. You mentioned new trails. We need to have new trails out there to access to provide space for the other users out there to cut down the conflict, build better access, for the traveling public. That's the one thing we need to think about is new trails, as you mentioned. Look at other access areas. I think a full assessment of the trails would be good. Put those together. If we can reach out to some of the folks out there and get them involved with that, both of the users. If you could reach out to Simba, we could put a field trip together. As you mentioned, we've got a couple of months here to do this. to look for those parking places should be. I can come down, my board members can get together, we all can see what everybody thinks and map these out. I have a GPS route that works well for this. Anyhow, I'd like to contribute those things, personally on that side like that. And, really to look forward to accommodations for everybody, for full benefit of all the users that are on these trails. Make sure we all have room to park, to put events on, to look for the future. That's all I got for now.
Thank you, David. Before I go to Colleen right now, I just want to let anyone who wants to provide comment now, even if you've already provided some comment, if you have some more that you'd like to provide, please raise your hand and I'll take you as you come in. So let's see, Colleen, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay, hello. So actually, I just had a couple of follow-up comments / questions. So I went to the link, but I don't see in the sidebar anything regarding La Madre Mountain. If you don't mind giving some more guidance on where exactly the recording will land once I've gone to the link. The second part is I was interested in knowing what the next steps in the planning process are going to look like, if they're going to have another forum, and if you have any dates and times, like just specifically like what the next steps look like in the planning process for public involvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Typically in the comment period, we are not supposed to address back or go back and forth with questions, but I did want to address the one with the website. The first thing that's going to go up there is this video. There's nothing else to put in there yet, so that's why there's nothing there. So within the next few days, something will be up over there. And then also the next thing would be the draft that was earlier in the presentation, where the different steps in here, and there really is no timeline right now, but that will be put out in a news release and on Facebook as well, saying when the meeting for the draft, and so people can review that in the public comment period for that. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment? I'm also in the chat box going to put the email address up again, so you can copy that, since it's one of those super long email addresses. So you can copy and paste that, save it off to the side there. So if you want to provide more, then you can put that in. And I see Michael is up. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself now, Michael.
Yeah, this is going to be James Sage, president of Backcountry Horsemen.
Good evening. This is Jim Sage with Backcountry Horsemen, and we've got some major concerns with what's going on here in this project. And our first one, of course, is like everybody else, is parking. And of course, when you get rigs with horse trailers, you have to have room to get the horses out of the back. And we're concerned with the fact that we're going to get less parking instead of more, because I hear you say you don't have a budget. And so that's a challenge for us there. As if it's anything like the rest of Red Rock, we've gradually been pushed out of there, and it's a big concern. The other part was a budget for trail maintenance and putting trails together. And you stated that we had a good resource of folks that donate their time to this. And that's what our organization does, Backcountry Horsemen, is we pack gravel and materials and whatever. And given what's happened recently in Red Rock, where we've not been able to do these projects, we've got a big concern there that once we start this, that it's not going to be access, it's going to be less access and less trail maintenance. And that's just a big concern for us, that we have such a challenge with this, and want to see if we can fix it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment? Now, I'm not going to do a last call on this one because we're here till 8 o'clock for this comment period. So if there's people who come in later who want to provide comment, they can. If you decide you want to provide more comment, you can. We'll be here till 8 o'clock. If you don't want to hang out till then, you don't have to. So that's completely up to you, but we will be here. If you want to provide more comment, please raise your hand. If you don't, we'll just be sitting here waiting just in case. And for those of you who aren't going to hang around, I just want to thank you all for coming tonight and providing information. And I really do encourage you to send more information in through that website, or I'm sorry, through that email address to really, really help us develop a nice, solid plan. All right, David, I see your hands back up. You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, I'd just like to add in one thing. All these trails we've got out there, the importance of signage, whether we go directional or two directional, whether it's horse only or electric bike only, whatever the case is. I've done that here in my operation in Beatty. Signs all over the place, full blown, for guidance for people to get out there. That's something we make sure we have in the plan, signage, and as we said earlier, multiple parking lots. You know, certainly anything we do to inform the public of how to get out there and where to go. Perhaps some kiosks that have QR codes on it where they can download information and what they can expect ahead for those that have never been there before. Those are done in some places that way, and just really to accelerate and elevate the plan for access, accelerate and elevate for guidance for the users that are out there, not just for their experience, but to prevent conflict. Those are all things that we need to think about in the long term of the plan. That's what I had to add to that. Thank you. And I'll be signing off now.
Thank you, David. And Colleen, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, since we have some extra time, I just wanted to add to my earlier comments. So I've been listening very intently at the other commenters and hearing their concerns. And I just want to reiterate a theme that I feel is being projected amongst us, which is that I feel that the biggest concern is a lot of these groups, we've been using the area without any issue. And our concerns are these plans are going to be limiting us from the activities we already enjoy. I remember how Red Rock used to be, and I look at how Red Rock is today. And my concern is that La Madre Mountain Wilderness Foothills is one of the last pieces of Red Rock that has these like looser regulations. And I just don't want to see it become like the main part of Red Rock with the reservation system, with all the rules, where it's now so busy that now you have concerns where you have to balance visitor use with damage to the parks. I think that having open spaces that aren't so regulated allows an opportunity for people of diverse activities to utilize the land. I'm hearing horseback riding, I'm hearing mountain biking. I love just looking at it and not having it feel have like a, excuse myself, but almost like a Disneyland feel. You know, like when I go to Red Rock, I feel like it's turned into almost a touristy area as opposed to the place that I grew up and loved. And that's what I love about the La Madre Mountain foothills. Like if you drive in that level of traffic, I think sometimes good intentions go awry and you'll drive out the people that are already loving and enjoying the land. And so as I work through this public forum, I want to continue to support the people that are already using it, such as myself and some of the other commenters, because like them, I use it for the same reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Simone, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, my name's Simone Griffin. I'm the policy director for Blue Ribbon Coalition. I just wanted to comment and piggyback off of that previous comment. With the current use, and lots of times we'll see that user conflict is a reason to close areas to specific user groups when there's no real user conflict that has been it hasn't been reported. There's no documentation of it. So I would hate to see that be used as an excuse. And we also would like to see, with the range of alternatives developed, a true range of alternatives to comply with NEPA. More often than not, the alternatives that we see are just varying levels of closure. And so in order to comply with NEPA, we would like the BLM to develop a true recreation alternative where it doesn't just allow current use, but expands upon it, where recreation is growing so much in popularity. I mean, outdoor recreation in 2021, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, brought in $821 billion, which was more than the oil and gas industry. And so I just encourage the BLM to develop a true recreation alternative that truly accommodates all user groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. Well, we don't have anybody else right yet, but we're still here. Colleen, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, thank you. So just for those in this comment section that might be not as familiar with the planning process, because I've heard some themes throughout about concerns about the way that it's being designed. I just want to let everyone know that there's actually a 30-day protest period. You can protest the plan if you have concerns. So I just wanted to let everybody in the forum know about that. I personally have concerns and will be considering filing a protest personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Christine, I just noticed you pop in. We are in the comment period. If you would like to provide comment on this, please raise your hand and I will let you open your mic. Allison, we're in the last 19 minutes of the public comment portion. If you're interested in providing public comment, please raise your hand and I will set your mic so you can unmute it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. And this will conclude this meeting. Have a good night.